Okay, welcome to the It's Always Sunny in Phoenix podcast. We're part of the Multiple Sources podcast network. I'm your host, Mitch, and with me today I have our other Phoenix Suns writers, Charlie and David. I think that we should go around and be like schools and say our name and a little fun fact about each one of us. So let's have David start.
All right. Hi, guys. I'm David. Nice to meet all of your intangible faces. I work in radio, do a bunch of stuff. I work at ASU, follow the Suns a ton. Or I go to ASU online, but whatever. That doesn't matter. I follow the Suns a ton. They're the best. They're my favorite team. Followed them for about 12 years now, something like that. But I've gone back even farther to watch game tape. And I am a big nerd. And that's about all there is to me.
Nice. Okay, Charlie, what do you have for us?
Well, I'm glad to know that David is a big nerd, first of all. And, well, I'm Charlie, like we've all established here. I live in Gilbert, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix. I moved here from South Dakota about 2 years ago. I've been a big Suns fan since about age 6, so that's pushing over 20 years now. I liked watching Sir Charles back in the day, the round mound of rebound. And once Nash came around, I really fell in love with the team. That style of basketball just so fun to watch.
Nice. Yeah. So I have a little bit of interesting path to finding the Suns. I live in Spokane, Washington. I go to Gonzaga University. My fun fact, I suppose, is that I'm in the band that plays at all the basketball games, and I get to travel to the West Coast Conference Tournament and NCAA tournament. That's a lot of fun. I became a Suns fan because I spent a lot of time in Phoenix. Just over the summers, I have some family down there, and I would watch the teams in the early to mid 2000s, Steve Nash especially. Just watch those games with my family, and it was a lot of fun. I kind of quit watching the NBA for a little bit, but once I got to college, I started watching again. So that's how I got to be a Suns fan. Been following a little closer for the past 3 years or so. Let's talk about what other sports we watch and who else we root for, just so people have kind of a general idea. I think that the teams you root for can tell a lot about, what you've experienced watching sports and how you feel about it and things like that. So we'll start with David again there.
So I watch about just any sort of sport, if just about anything. The teams I follow, so I follow the Chargers until I protest, currently. Until I protest the NFL just in general, so... and then they'll still have me viewing. Anyways, that's besides the point. So, follow the Chargers, I don't really follow a specific hockey team. I kind of just will turn on games every once in a while. If I follow a college basketball team, it's kind of just whoever I think has a feel-good story. And most of my time I spend is watching NBA, so I just watch whatever's on.
Okay, nice. Yeah, interesting story with the Chargers. We'll see what happens to them.
Let's just not.
Yeah, or maybe not. What about you, Charlie?
Well, being a Midwestern kid, there weren't too many teams that I could go out and see, so I was a big Minnesota Twins fan growing up. Liked watching baseball and got to catch a year or two of Kirby Puckett. He was pretty great. And
nice.
And then NFL, I don't even like to admit this, but I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, and it's been a rough few years for us. And it just isn't looking up, and man, it's just a depressing situation.
I think I have you beat on the depressing part. So
and now the Suns. Well, and we're obviously all Suns fans, and this season isn't going so well.
Right.
So it's been a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the Dolphins. I think Tannehill is a pretty good quarterback, and I think Lamar Miller kind of emerged out of nowhere, but is a good player. I really think the Dolphins should be better than they are, but
Yeah,
it's tough when you have to play the Patriots twice a year.
yeah. There's a stat. He's been sacked more than any quarterback over the last 4 years. So
Jeez.
if he stays upright, he could be an okay quarterback. But
Yeah.
that's a different
Different topic
talk
completely.
for a different day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I am a huge Denver Broncos fan. For a long time, that was all I would watch. Like, I really didn't care much about any other sports. It was just all Broncos. Things have changed a little bit. You know, I still really follow the Broncos closely and really like them, but I watch a lot of other stuff now. I'm a big Colorado Avalanche hockey fan. I was actually just at one of their games. They're so much fun to see live, but watching on TV is fun too. And then follow Gonzaga for college basketball, obviously. And really, that's about it. Adding the Suns, that takes up the majority of my time, and that's what I like to do. So let's get into this current Suns season. We're starting this podcast about the middle of the season, so let's just catch up on what has happened so far, starting with departures. Who do you guys think has made the most impact on the team by leaving? And we're not going to include Dragic and Isaiah Thomas and guys like that, since that was more last season. So just this season. So guys like Gerald Green, Marcus Morris, and those kind of guys. Who do you think has made the biggest impact by not being on the team anymore?
Well, I think the obvious answer is Marcus, but I'm going to actually go with Gerald Green. He has a lot of big games he can have where he's hits 3 threes off the bench and gets everyone pumped up, but there's a lot of the time where it was like 3 seconds into the shot clock and he was just jacking up a 28-footer that was highly contested and just a bad shot and bricking it or air ball or any of that kind of stuff. And while we kind of do have a couple of people that'll throw up some bad threes every once in a while now, is never on the level that Gerald did. So I'm a little happy that he's gone. I'm glad that Miami fans like him. I'm really glad he's gone.
Yeah. I think Gerald Green actually makes an impact just because of energy. You know, he was such a high flyer, and he could have one electrifying dunk that could turn a game around. And I think with this year's team, we could use someone like that. And we get a little bit of that from guys like Booker now when they hit a big three, or Teletovic. But there's a big difference between an electrifying dunk and a nice three. You know, they both can help, but I miss Green's dunking for sure. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, that emotion that Gerald brings on the court, he gets the crowd fired up, and we just don't have a guy that quite does that for us anymore.
Right.
But I think we should talk about Marcus Morris a little bit here, because with the Pistons now, he's having a career season. For about 14 points and 5 boards a game, started every game so far.
That is slightly misleading, though, because his per 36 are the same as he was when he was at the Suns. He's just playing more minutes. That's other than that, he's hitting just about the same stats as he is per 36. So when he's starting and getting more minutes, you should expect everything to jump, but it's not really jumping that far ridiculously out of the range of whatever I'm trying to say. But
yeah, I'd still rather have PJ as the starting 3 over Marcus.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question about that. Unless you're a Pistons fan, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think Pistons fans in general are pretty happy with what he's doing there. And when you can play that many minutes for a team, you know, like, I know earlier in the season he was in like the top 5 in minutes played. That's pretty solid for any team. So I think they're pretty happy with him, which, you know, good for them.
Yeah, but I mean, the Pistons have a history of kind of having those kind of guys and them being somewhat successful. I mean, Malice in the Palace was like 11 years ago, I think.
Uh-huh.
Which a lot of those guys were those kind of guys until they went crazy. But
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily marking them out. But like a lot of those guys, like Rashid was a big mouth, like whatever, all that kind of stuff. Bill Laimbeer was ridiculously dirty, but he was another big mouth, talk smack. I'm going to hate you on the court, all that kind of stuff. So,
Speaking of Malice in the Palace, I remember that Jermaine O'Neal haymaker like yesterday.
Yeah. Oh,
I remember sitting at a restaurant and looking at like Sports Center back like when I was in California and looking up and it's like, oh my goodness. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
This is not good at all.
I remember watching that game and like I am completely neutral to the Pistons. I don't care. But after watching that, I was like, I can't stand this team. I will never root for them. You know, it just turned me off to them so much. But I mean, it was exciting to watch.
Have you watched any of the like the bad boy stuff? That's way worse.
Oh,
Some of the
yeah,
stuff
like
that they
that
did to like
30 for
players on the
30.
court and stuff. But
Yeah, that was just so before my time that I don't think it had like as much of an impact on me because I was like pretty young when Malice in the Palace happened, and so like that kind of rubbed off on me as a kid. Like that's not the way to play basketball, you know. I mean, it was outside of the game, obviously, but I was so turned off to it.
you can find it on YouTube. You can look up the Bad Boys documentary. It's
Oh yeah,
like it's really cool, but some of the things it's like, yeah, we were hated. It's like, yeah, there's a reason why you were hated, but okay.
yeah. Huh? Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
Anyways,
Yeah, let's talk about the new additions to the team this year. The big one I would say is Devin Booker. Devin Booker. He's young and he's lighting it up. And then we've got John Lure, Mirza Teletovic, Ronnie Price, and then Sonny Weems is kind of new.
Sonny Weems is the only one that I'm not okay with on the team right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Who do you guys think has been your favorite new addition to watch this year?
I got to go with Booker.
Yeah.
I was a little worried about him when we drafted him. I wasn't on the hype train. I wasn't excited about it. But it didn't take long for me to turn around on him, and I think this kid has a higher ceiling than a lot of people expected. And I think he has some leadership capabilities too, which the Suns really could use.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a energy that not every one of our guys has. But I honestly, when I was looking at a pre-draft workout and all that kind of stuff, I was looking at it and I was like, there's no way that we're gonna get this guy. He's gonna end up going like 2 picks ahead of us, and it's gonna be lame, and we're gonna end up getting like Frank Kaminsky or something, which I was gonna be fine with because Wisconsin big guys. Gotta love those white Wisconsin big men. But
Yeah, Johnny Badger.
exactly. And then Charlotte picked him, and I was like, okay, are we gonna get Devin Booker? And I guess we did. So I was happy, and that's exactly the kind of player that I wanted.
Yeah, I actually thought we were going to get Frank Kaminsky too. Everything that I had read was saying the Suns really are high on Frank Kaminsky. They're going to look to get him, but he wasn't there, and I've been very happy with Booker. I think his energy is great, especially, I mean, we'll talk about this a little more later, but in the Charlotte game last night, he was hitting threes. He was bringing so much energy to the floor. He just changed that game completely. And he has that capability to do that night in and night out, you know. I love the energy he plays with, and he's really exciting, especially because he's so young, and you know he's only going to get better from here.
And that same 3-point shot, we get a lot of that from Mirza as well. So having both those guys come off the bench it's awesome. Is really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, for sure. What were you going to say, Charlie?
Oh, just Booker, if you watch that shot, it is so smooth.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a joy to watch. Yeah. And I don't see it getting worse. You know, like I can see that, you know, if he's going to hit a rookie wall or whatever, I really just don't see that shot going away. It's just too pure.
Right.
The wall's not going to be when it comes to that. It's going to be more probably when it comes to driving and passes and that kind of stuff, where he hits a point where he's just exhausted from the season and stuff, and I don't think the shot's going to be as much of a problem.
Yeah, I don't really expect him to hit that much of a wall, though. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I think that he is just finally finding his form and he's getting some good momentum. I really think he's going to carry that for a while longer. And the All-Star break will be really good for him, too, because I think he's really heating up now. You know,
Yeah,
it doesn't look like
really
he's going to be hitting a wall anytime soon.
Yeah, he hasn't been like playing a lot of minutes either, which is really helpful for that wall. So he should be able to at least get mostly to the All-Star break and get a little bit more rest, and then he'll probably get a little bit more playing time after that. So
yeah, and that's fine. Let's talk about the last two games here. We can start with let's start with Charlotte because it was actually fun and exciting. I think one thing I really want to highlight in that is ball movement. I think we had much better ball movement than I've seen for a while this season. There were just open threes. We were making the extra pass, and we were hitting our shots. You know, it helps so much when we have a night like that where we get really hot. I think it helps a lot with confidence, and I think that's a big game moving forward. What do you guys think? How about David start?
I was trying not to talk over Charlie that time, so
That's okay.
I covered.
We'll work it out.
Yeah, I did the recap for the Charlotte game. I was watching that. I ended up actually coming in late to it, so I kind of saw a little bit of what was going on. But that's one of those things where they were missing a handful of guys that are their main defensive guys, and we were able to take control of that. And after the extremely cold night that was the Lakers game, we had the opposite of that against Charlotte, where Mirza and Booker were taking threes, and you kind of just assumed that they were going in.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, right before the game started, I messaged you guys, and I was surprised that Ronnie Price was starting.
Yeah.
But one of you made the point that'll let Knight not hold the ball as much, not have to bring up the ball every time, and work in that shooting guard role that he's been playing in.
That was the big thing with the end of the Lakers game that I also had to cover, which was a little bit worse to cover. But the big thing was when the Suns started getting on that little bit of a run, Price was in, and that lets him cover the point guard, lets him... I mean, he's got good defense. He's not going to really shoot out the lights of the stadium or anything, but he's just going to bring a lot of hustle and defense, and he was getting a ton of steals and setting up guys. So it wasn't after seeing the end of that, I was a little surprised because I thought they were just going to roll with Booker, but it made a lot of sense to put him in as the point guard spot, have Knight really handle most of the offense, but not have to solely create on offense, and there being another guy that could set up other guys, because Knight really thrives when he's looking to score, I think, and I think he has a little bit of a trouble when it comes to trying to make sure that he sets up the other guys, and that's where a lot of the turnovers come in. And you saw it at the end of a lot of games. You saw it at the end of the Pistons game, the second one. You saw it at the end of the Brooklyn game, where he was trying to create for himself and others at the same time, and it just caused him to turn the ball over. So I think that Ronnie Price in the starting lineup was able to alleviate some of that. And while Booker's shooting is a lot better, having him come off the bench with TJ and Mirza was pretty nice.
Yeah, I really like seeing Booker and Mirza and TJ come off the bench. I think that was a lot of fun. And I think the rotations are finally getting to be a little more solid. And I did like Ronnie Price starting, but it kind of made me think, like, what would these games have been like if we would have had Bledsoe?
Well, I mean, Bledsoe's our best player, so...
Right. But, I mean, I doubt we would have been on a 9-game losing streak if he would have played, you know? Which is tough, but, I mean, I think it is the right decision to keep him out because of his history with bad knees. And, you know, this season is looking like we're probably not going to be in playoff contention. So why risk further injury for our best player?
Absolutely.
You can remove the meniscus and he'd be able to play, and it'd only be like 6 weeks. It wouldn't be that long. And you could have done that, but also you kind of see that's what Dwayne Wade had done, I think, right after his senior year of high school. He had both meniscus removed, and it's really impacted his game now that he's older. And so you get back and you can play and you still have your explosiveness, but you really lose it once you hit that wall a little bit more than others.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's move on to talking about that Lakers game for a little bit. I mean, it was pretty bad. It was we were slow. The word I keep using is uninspired. It doesn't really look like we're playing for anything, and I'm still kind of trying to decide if we're in full tank mode or not. Because, like, these reports come out where Jeff Hornacek is saying, we're still trying to fight, we're still trying to win games. But in that Lakers game, I mean, Hornacek said all that after, but I was just thinking, like, it doesn't look like they even want to win or be out there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that start to that Lakers game, that was just tough to watch. That's probably I could just leave it at that, really, but there was a turning point. It was either late third quarter, early fourth quarter. I think Knight started to turn it on a little bit. And I don't know what got him going, but it'd be nice to see that all game. Even if we are tanking, I wish we knew if we were tanking.
I know it.
That'd just be nice. So it'd be a lot easier to talk about all this stuff if we knew that was the case. But yeah, the effort, they come out weak. It's been happening over the last couple weeks now, and just uninspired basketball. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So
what do you think?
One of the big problems is that they played the Kings and just got completely throttled the night before.
Yes.
They just got, like, it was bad, and they just got completely throttled. And I think a lot of that kind of fell over. You saw Knight just making kind of dumb decisions with the ball. I don't think we're trying to tank at all whatsoever. I think there's been a void with Bledsoe gone, that even though there are some times where he doesn't play the shutdown defense like he can, you see it a lot mainly when he plays against those, like the Kyries, the Russell Westbrooks, those kind of guys. You see it where he just wants to lock them down. He wants to show the reason why he should be an all-star. And a lot of that is missed. And a lot of his just playmaking in general is missed. So I think these last handful of games has been really the team trying to figure out a way to get at least fill the void just partially.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say. But I mean, it's still tough to watch a little bit, especially even if you go back to that game against the Nuggets, where they were down like so many people with injuries, and we just rolled over in that game too. I think that's when it really started for me. Like, I think maybe we're tanking, but I don't know. I don't think I'm quite decided on if I think we're gonna tank or not. I think all these things that the high ups in the organization are saying could just be a smokescreen to get people thrown off track, or maybe they are truth. I don't know. It's kind of like the Broncos with if they're going to start Peyton Manning or Brock Osweiler each week. It's kind of like you never really know what they're going to do, and it's just trying to throw people off, And I also think that there could be some big things looming on the horizon, especially with Corey Jefferson and Bryce Cotton getting cut. I mean, what do you guys think of that? Do you think maybe they're trying to make a little room for a potential trade or something like that? I mean, we all know that Markieff is going to get traded, but I mean, what do you think that cutting Jefferson and Cotton means?
Normally when you cut guys like that aren't making a whole lot, you're trying to make room so that way you can take back more.
Mm-hmm.
Normally. But
Yeah, this is their guaranteed contracts would come up today, I believe is what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by releasing them, we can sign them to a 10-day if we want them back. But let me get on the horn real quick. I think I saw we're pursuing someone, a new guard. So maybe Cotton might not be coming back.
Huh. Okay, well, while you're looking that up, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming games. Starting with Friday, tomorrow, since we're recording on Thursday the 7th here. Miami comes to Phoenix. It's Goran Dragic, his first game back in Phoenix. What do you guys expect from
Goran
that?
throwing a lot of shade.
Yeah, I saw that. He said Phoenix isn't like Miami or San Antonio, where the players are loyal and the people are loyal. That's a call out for sure. So what do you?
He just wants to get booed.
Yeah, really, and he will.
He's something. The entire thing with him was just a mess, and I think that everything that was done was thought through. You sign Isaiah Thomas for Bledsoe insurance just in case if Bledsoe wants to go get a max contract, that you can be like, okay, I don't want to play you a max contract. You've had knee injuries, whatever. Or if he signs a 1 year, then you have insurance. You have insurance with Isaiah Thomas. Then we sign Bledsoe, and which was the point. So it's like, okay, so Isaiah is going to be a sixth man. Then I think one of the main reasons why Hornacek's always trying to win, so he's always throwing out these weird lineups, and so the 3-point guard lineup was one of those, and it was working, and it had a huge offensive rating, and then once it basically went downhill once Goran started just going and standing in a corner and complaining about all those things that, you know, he complained about and said that that's where he had to go or whatever, but he didn't at all, because there were games where when they had the 3-point guard lineup where there was cutting and he wasn't just standing in a corner waiting to spot up. But, you know, who knows? So,
yeah,
just the entire thing is a mess.
I mean, I think he just wanted to be the primary ball handler, and he was upset that he wasn't at all times, you know? I think he is going to come out and probably have a big game, and I think the other guy to watch for is Justice Winslow. He's kind of like Booker with that energy that he brings. I think he's a super underrated player. I saw that Duke team play Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. I was at that game, and I still think that Justice Winslow will be a better player than Okafor. I think he was the best player on that Duke team, and I think he can show that, and I think he's going to have a big game against us because he's so athletic, and I think we'll probably have PJ guard him, but I don't know how well that will go, even though PJ is one of our best defenders.
Justice Winslow.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
Go ahead, Charlie. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. I haven't seen much of Winslow this year, but he came into the league with a grown man pro NBA body just right out of the gate, and that's a big advantage because imagine if Devin Booker had a athletic game like that. That'd just be ridiculous. But hopefully he can grow into that. But.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big thing with him with Justice is that he was probably one of the more pro ready players, but that also means that his ceiling is a little lower than some of the other guys. He could be great, but I think a lot of people are ready to crown him as the next Kawhi, and I think that's slightly premature.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would go that far yet. I mean, I think he has that potential for sure, but I mean, he's been playing for half a year, so it's too early to say for sure. What you were gonna say something though, Charlie?
Oh, yeah. Back to the new guy that we might be signing. It's Lorenzo Brown. He was playing in the D League, and we don't have him, but it sounds like we're in talks with him for a 10-day contract.
Oh, okay.
And he was T.J. Warren's teammate in college. Yeah, so I think he'll be a little upgrade above Cotton from what I can see.
Okay, yeah, that would be good. Um, I liked that we gave Bryce Cotton a little bit of a shot, actually. He didn't do much, but I feel bad for those guys, kind of, because they work just as hard as everyone else. And, I mean, they sit on the bench. It's kind of like Archie Goodwin. You can tell how frustrated those guys are, you know?
I think Archie Goodwin there's an excuse for him not necessarily playing all the time because he only sees one thing really when he has the ball,
The rim.
that's the rim. And it's not a good the rim. It's I'm just gonna try and score whether it's no matter how good the shot or how bad the shot is, I'm gonna try and score it, which is all right sometimes. It's not all right when. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think when he comes in, he's just trying so hard to impress. And that usually is not good when people are trying to do that. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. And that leads to bad shots and, you know, I think he could be a good player, but I don't think it's going to be with Phoenix. I really think he gets packaged with Markieff. Even though the Suns are saying that we want to keep him, I just think that since Markieff hasn't been playing at all, we're going to need to sweeten the deal a little bit more when it comes time to trade him.
I think the big thing also with Archie.
Yeah, I see that too.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, Archie. That it seemed like we were trying to get him to play the point at some.
That's what I was just going to bring up. Yeah,
last year. Yeah, and that's just. I don't think that's going to work out for him. He's more of a slasher, not the best ball handler. I could see him playing small ball 3 or shooting guard, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So,
well, perfect. Let's talk about Tuesday the 12th. We head to Indiana to a very improved Pacers team. What will you guys be looking for in that one?
well, I mean, the main reason why they're improved is because Paul George is back from his broken leg, and Frank Vogel is a really good coach. That's one of those kind of not a lot that media talks about, but when you see what he's done, I mean, he almost made the playoffs without Paul George last year, and the East was weak, whatever. This year, he has no David West, no Roy Hibbert. He has Paul George, George Hill. He's starting C.J. Miles, Monte Ellis, that's right. Ian Mahinmi and Lavoy Allen is getting big minutes at the 4 as long as Jordan Hill. I mean, it's really just like this patchwork of a front court, and for whatever reason, it's working, and they're spacing out the ball a lot and playing a ton, and Paul George is playing ridiculously well. He's a top 5 small forward in the league, which is obvious, but I don't think a lot of people saw him making this jump right away, even though he broke his leg. It's not like he tore up his leg. It was a break. So I think a lot of people took that too much, that it was like, oh, it's going to be this big thing. It's like, well, I mean, all he did was work on a shot. He broke his leg. He didn't have any structural damage. It was just a clean break.
Yeah, and that's so good for him. When I saw that leg break, it was horrible. I felt so bad. But I think Paul George and just the Pacers in general are a team that go way under the radar just because they're Indiana. And, I have a roommate who's a big Pacers fan, and so that'll be a fun game for me to watch with him. But, I hear a little bit more about them, and I think they're a really good team this year. All the Hills working together, and then Frank Vogel, that's a huge key to their success for sure.
Yeah, I've been trying to watch Pacer games whenever I can because I like Paul George a lot. I like Frank Vogel. So I thought that Monte probably found the perfect spot, even though he hasn't been producing that much. I thought he found the perfect spot. I was interesting to see how a lot of how their front court would work together. And so I've been watching a lot of them, and it's going to be interesting to see how we match up, is how I'm going to put this without saying that we're going to get that Paul George might drop a lot of points on us.
Yeah, he might.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch Paul George too, but I am most concerned about George Hill. Does he still have the Cisco blonde hair?
He better
Oh
by
my
then.
I have no idea.
I haven't
what he
seen
was
a Pacers
thinking.
game in a little bit. I hope he does, though.
Yeah.
Oh, he does. He still does. He's still bleaching it. I remember on RNBA they were showing the Pacers Spurs game, and there was the Pop's reaction to the like bleached hair, and it's just
Oh my gosh, I
It's
saw
interesting.
that. That was so funny. I loved the quote. Someone asked him, "Why did you dye your hair blonde?" And he said, "Blondes have more fun." I think that is it's so funny. And I love that he doesn't take himself too seriously and he does something like that. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's not just for middle-aged white women to say.
Yeah, really.
But also, just hands up to the Pacers franchise. We just talked about Malice in the Palace, but just to think that wasn't really that long ago, and they completely turned the perception of that organization around. That's another reason why they don't really get a whole lot of media attention, is because everyone wants to forget about Ron Artest going crazy and punching a dude that didn't even throw beer at him.
Right. Yeah, that is a good point. They really have turned it around. The next game is Friday the 15th in Boston, but we will probably record before that one, so we can
Hopefully.
leave that for the next time. But I think that's going to be a fun game too. Let's talk about just for 1 second. I want to stop and appreciate the Charlotte jerseys. I love.
Oh my goodness, they are
their
so
jerseys.
good.
Their uniforms are amazing.
The teal and purple is, oh my goodness.
It's so great.
I love the rebrand of them being back to the Hornets, and I love the
Yes.
jerseys that they're coming out with, and they just look so nice.
They do. It makes me want to root for the Hornets.
Yeah, those are just the colors are so classic.
Yes.
Like no one has colors like that. And I remember back in elementary school when we were all wearing starter jackets. I think like 5 or 6 kids, numerous kids had Hornets jackets, and they didn't even like the Hornets. They were just they just looked awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was one of my favorite parts of the game. I mean, the game was great and we won and all, but getting to
Besides us
watch-
winning and everything, but those
right.
those
Aside from that, the jerseys, and then Jeremy Lin too. We were talking about him a little bit during the game. His hair also is. I think it's the opposite of Paul George. It doesn't make me laugh. It is horrendous.
It was flopping
he thinks he's
everywhere
slick.
last night. He had it like down. He had slicked back and everything instead of how he did have it, where it was all standing up, where it was Super Saiyan, and it was flopping around the entire time. Whenever he'd run, it would just flop like up and down. And it was the weirdest thing, and I was not okay with it.
He has improved a lot though, and he's still one of those guys that's pretty fun to watch when you can get past the hair.
I don't think he's improved. I think he's just gotten into a better situation. When he was around when he was around James Harden, he didn't have the ball in his hand. He didn't have a chance to create. When he was coming off the bench, he looked a little bit better, but James Harden still played so many minutes that it didn't even make a difference. And when he was on the Lakers, he got into the doghouse with Byron Scott so fast. It's ridiculous that was. But when he did have these really nice moments of doing pick and rolls with Ed Davis and all this other stuff. So, I mean, he looked good. I don't think he's gone back to. I don't think he regressed at all during Houston or Lakers. I think it was just a big thing of he just didn't really get that opportunity to handle the ball and run the floor and any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
He couldn't go Linsane anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. He didn't have Mike D'Antoni as a
but
coach.
do you guys think he would fit in well in Phoenix with how McDonough and Hornacek love the point guards? Do you think he'd be a good fit here?
No, we have too many guards. We always, at any single time, we have two guys on the court that are ball handlers, and he just didn't do well when he was in a 2-guard set where you shared responsibilities like that. I mean, he's getting a lot of minutes with Kemba right now, but most of the time he's coming off the bench most of the time. So I think that's what's helped him a lot. So I just don't see him as being able to fit into the Suns.
I don't know though. What about him and Booker as the guards with us, like instead of Ronnie Price? That might be fun.
Off the bench, maybe, but
I'd
Jeremy
like that.
Lin's. I mean, his defense also at that point. So you're saying you getting rid of Price then, or you just start Price
That's
and then
true,
just never
yeah.
play those guys together at all? But then you're not able to. You don't have the flexibility with the guards, which is a big problem.
Yeah, that's true. And I do think I liked Ronnie Price working with Devin Booker. That worked really well. So I don't know if I would want to change that, but
And Knight and
I
Booker
don't
are
know.
pretty explosive when
Yeah.
in limited minutes from what it looked like. So
that's another thing I like about Devin Booker is it seems like he can work well with just about anyone. You know, he's working on adjusting his game to whoever's on the floor, you know? And I think that's really mature for someone as young as he is.
well, he can cut, he can spot up, he can handle the ball. Any other things on offense, you can just about ask him. He showed off. What was that last game where he showed off that the turnaround in the post, or was that a game or two
Oh
before?
yeah.
I don't remember what game that was, but he had that nice little turnaround jumper when he was backing someone down. That was kind of nice. If he develops anything like that, having a guy that can do that in the post, a guard, is a nice thing to
Yeah,
have.
that was really nice. I can't remember what game that was either, but I remember what you're talking about.
I think it was the Lakers game on Lou Williams, I believe. He's about 6'2", 6'3", right?
Yeah, it was.
If Booker gets matched up on a shorter guard like that, I'd love to see him take the ball in the post and nice turnaround.
Well, that's
Jay.
a lot of the Klay Thompson comparisons. That's what Klay Thompson can do really well, and what he's been working on is being able to do that and get into the post and do that kind of post work where because I mean the Warriors, they manufacture their post game because they don't have just that one guy, so they kind of have a lot of different guys get looks, and that's that guard turnaround jumper in the post is a nice thing to have. So
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on a little bit. Just some general thoughts on the NBA, and let's talk about what teams we've paid attention to thus far, aside from Phoenix. We touched on this a little bit, but just a couple teams that you've really been watching. Let's start with Charlie here.
All right, there's two teams I like to catch if I get the opportunity, and well, especially this year, the Warriors.
Yeah.
That's self-explanatory. That's just beautiful basketball, just beautiful.
Definitely.
And then my second favorite team, I guess you could say, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Just a bunch of good young talent with Towns and Wiggins. And then Rubio running the point. He's a fun guy to watch. He's a great
he
passer.
elevates that team so
Looks
much.
for those guys.
It's ridiculous.
Every opportunity. Yeah, so those are the two I like to follow.
Yeah, I like Zach LaVine on the Timberwolves. He's another one of those high-flying kind of guys. And he's so explosive and fun to watch.
Another guy that they tried to play at the point guard that just didn't work.
Yeah. What about you, David, though? What teams are you following?
I watch a ton of teams, so I watch basically whatever's on, but a couple of the teams that I've seen more than once kind of on purpose. I'm from SoCal, my parents are Lakers fans, so I end up watching a lot of those. It's a train wreck, but watching Tom Chambers said something about D'Angelo Russell that I didn't like. He was like, I don't get D'Angelo Russell, and I was like, Tom, you haven't been watching him play then, because his court vision is really something. His court and being able to set up guys when he's been coming off the bench and setting people up, and it's really nice. So I've been watching the Lakers. I watch the Pacers whenever I get a chance to. because of Paul George. I watch Milwaukee whenever I get a chance to, because it's just a interesting team.
You miss Miles Plumlee.
I miss Plum Dog. So, and freaking Giannis.
Plum Dog millionaire.
I love Jabari Parker. Just that that entire team is just a lot of guys that I'm interested to see how they turn out. So I watch them. I watch a lot of, or I try to whenever I can. I try to watch Pelicans because I just want to be able to watch Anthony Davis and have a good excuse to. And I'm trying to think if I think there's like one team that I'm missing. So, I try and watch the Thunder whenever I can, because having Kevin Durant back playing basketball for a full season is something everyone should enjoy.
Oh yeah, I really like KD. He is so fun to watch.
And when you look at his stats from game to game, they're just about the same no matter what. They're super efficient. It's all about around like that generic like 26 to like 28, that range, with a bunch of 3-pointers, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and just along those lines. And it's the same every single game.
Yeah, very consistent.
I'd really like to go to a game at OKC. The way Russell Westbrook fires up the crowd, you don't see that too often in the NBA anymore. It seems like he gets those fans riled up.
That's the closest thing that the NBA has to a college atmosphere. It seems like every single time that they play at home that crowd is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's kind of the only show in town too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, I think that's great for sure. I follow Denver teams for the most part. I forgot to mention earlier that when it comes to baseball, I usually watch the Rockies, but I'm not a huge baseball fan. But everyone expects me to be a Nuggets fan, and I mean, I like them. I'd say they're my second favorite team, but I don't really watch them religiously. But I try to catch them when I can, and they're pretty bad this year. Kind of like Phoenix, actually. But I really like that they got Moutier. I think he's a great player who has a lot of potential, and he's a fun guy to watch already. So that's good. And then pretty much I just like to watch other Gonzaga guys because I've seen quite a few of them since I'm a senior.
It's all about that Bobby Sacra.
Yeah, Rob Sacre. I mean, he doesn't play much, but
he's the best cheerleader in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some really good things about him. People said he was a really nice guy. And Kelly Olynyk, I mean, that's not the most popular thing to say anymore, but I really like Kelly still. He was a lot of fun in college to watch, and he's learning how to adjust his game to the NBA, and it's starting to work well. So I'll watch the Celtics when I can too, but I wouldn't say I'm like a Celtics fan, really. I just like to watch the Gonzaga guys and hope that they do well. The only exception to that is Austin Day played for the Spurs. Well, played. When I say played, I mean sat in street clothes on the bench. And not even on the bench, even. He would sit like behind the bench. And so I didn't root for the Spurs even then. But yeah, I like to watch those Gonzaga guys for sure. We're running out of time here, so let's just
All-Star?
do a little. What's that?
Do you want to do the say who we think might be the starters for the All-Star, or who we think should be, not who will probably be, but who we think deserve to be starters for the All-Star team?
Yeah, let's do that real quick. You can start.
All right, so I have the guards. I have Steph and Westbrook. Wow, voice crack. I have Steph and Westbrook at the guards. I think both of those guys have been ridiculous for the West. For the forward spots, I think that you have to go with KD, Kawhi, and I think you almost have to go Draymond as your 3 forwards in the West. I just think that all 3 of those guys have just been playing extremely well, and even when Steph was out, I mean, Draymond was getting triple doubles and like really carrying that team. For the East, I haven't been watching as much, but I think you have to go Paul George, LeBron, probably for the third forward spot. Or I almost want to go Andre Drummond for like to have an actual center, but I think you can make a case for a couple of other spots. But I think I go Andre Drummond just because I think he's been playing really well. He's gotten a lot of rebounds. I know the system is tailored for that, but whatever. And for the two guard spots, I think you have to go with, I think you go John Wall and, oh man, I didn't think my second guard spot through very well. I think you have to go with Jimmy Butler. I think he's just been playing really well. So
yeah, he has been great lately, and I think that Chicago fans will vote for him and get him in, and I think Kobe's going to get it too because of the fans.
And that's exactly why I said who's not going to be voted in and who we think should be.
Right. I don't think Kobe should be, but he will be. And guys like Steph and
Kyrie
LeBron
might get voted in because they're trying to push Kyrie, and he has barely played any games.
Right.
So I mean, that's just ridiculous. That whole thing is dumb. So
yeah.
I think Kyrie is leading the East in guard votes.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Which is just crazy.
He has like hardly played at all, which is, I mean, the same thing happened with Kobe.
Last year he played like 6 games, I think.
Last year, right? And I mean, I don't know. That's just what happens when you leave it to the fans, And I was thinking, like, what if they changed it so that it wasn't all fan vote, or maybe no fan vote? But that's not the point, I think it's fun to have the fans be engaged a little bit.
I think it's just one of those things that you shouldn't really take into account all-star appearances when you're talking about a legacy of a player. I think it's more of just like, oh, these are what players the fans like, and then the bench is basically the players that the coaches like, and go watch some of the best players in the league shoot the basketball and score a lot of points and not play defense.
Yeah, really.
But if we're talking about an all-star game, guys like Kyrie, wouldn't you rather watch him play over guys like Kyle Lowry or D-Wade nowadays? Like, wouldn't Irving be more fun to watch in an all-star game?
I was just about to say I really hope Kyle Lowry makes it.
Kyle Lowry
that's who I'm pulling for him too.
Kyle Lowry deserves to make it, and while Kyrie might be more fun to the casual person, I think whenever I think of all-star, I think of someone that has played so well during the season that they deserve to be kind of similar to like the Pro Bowl. That's how it should be, but it's not. It's a popularity contest and all that. But so I just think of more of a standpoint of who just deserves to be able to be on that stage and be highlighted for their good work that season. And I mean, Kyle Lowry's definitely one of those guys. I can't believe I left him out, but I mean, you could even say Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, maybe for that backcourt. Because, I mean, John Wall had a stretch of games where he's doing bad, and even though Kyle did too, I think one of those guys should be the starting point guard for the East. But
I really like that Toronto team too, actually. Lowry and DeRozan are a fun duo to watch.
I'm not sure if I'm a fan of DeMar DeRozan, but Luis Scola's playing really well for him. DeMar Carroll was playing really good for him. Jonas Valanciunas was really good, and he's still playing really good. And I think that probably Lowry and Jonas should be the main building blocks, with DeMar Carroll and then trying to fill out that power forward spot. And I think they just need to find someone else at shooting guard that doesn't need the ball in his hands and can kind of just spot up around.
I kind of look at I'm sorry
Go
about
for
that.
it.
I look at Valanciunas, and that's what I want Len to be like.
Ooh,
I
yes.
think they have kind of similar games, and I think if Len really takes a big step, I think he could play a similar game to Valanciunas.
Yeah, that would be great.
Valanciunas doesn't play enough defense in my liking. I don't even know what I want Len to be. I want him to be like... So, in my head, it's like if you took the idea of Tim Duncan's jump shot and like a third of his defense right now, and kind of just use that for a basis. Just kind of like the elbow jumpers, like bank shots or whatever. Maybe a couple post moves here and there, but kind of just, just blocks shots and plays a resemblance. Because I don't think Valanciunas is really that good at defense. I think his main thing is offense. And I think that's why you get guys like Kyle Lowry plays good defense, DeMar Carroll plays really good defense, and you get those guys kind of around him that mask Valanciunas' deficiencies with defense.
Yeah, I was mainly talking on offense.
Of course.
Len...
No, I would love for him to have some of that offensive game, because Valanciunas can't hit jumpers, can he? Or is he just post?
I think he can stretch it out a little bit. Absolutely not a three-pointer.
No, I'm just thinking like elbow jumpers,
decent elbow range.
So I mean, offensively, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Well, we're running a little over an hour real quick here. Let's just talk, each one of us, about one thing non-basketball related or non-sports related even that we're doing or reading or watching or whatever. And then we will wrap it up here. So let's start with Charlie on that one.
All right, this is kind of sports related, so I'll throw another one after this. I'm in the process of opening a sports memorabilia business, mainly autographed pictures, jerseys, baseballs, that kind of thing, and that's been a lot of fun to get into, and should hopefully be up and running within a month or two. But other than that, I'm a big A Song of Ice and Fire fan, Game of Thrones, and George Martin just mentioned that the new season on HBO might beat or will beat the release of his new book, which is a little sad. A lot of fans are a little upset, but I'm excited for the TV show to come back and eagerly awaiting the next book too.
Yeah, nice. Okay, David?
So when I'm not working, I'm most of the time either playing something really generic video game wise, or I'm reading a lot. So I read a lot of dumb superhero stuff because I'm a nerd. But I'm not really up to a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just Battlefront. I'll go with that. Star Wars Battlefront. It's my two favorite things: Star Wars and mindless video games. So that's what I'm doing right now.
There you go. Nice. Let's see. I'm going to talk about a little music here. Most people don't really expect this from me, but I'm a really big metal fan, and I like metalcore, prog metal, that kind of stuff. A little bit of deathcore. I'm pretty late to listening to this, but a band I really like called Periphery did a little EP album kind of thing where every one of the members of the band wrote one song specifically, and it's called Clear, and I'm finally getting around to listening to that, and it's amazing. The writing is so good, and it grooves really hard, some great melodies, and so I've just been listening to that from front to back quite a bit. There's only 7 songs, it's pretty quick. So if you're into that kind of music, I definitely recommend that. And you've probably heard it already, but I'm late to that party. So thanks for listening. I'm going to just let you know where you can find our stuff. First, we've got our website, which is going to be multiplesources.net/Phoenix Suns. That's where we'll post all of our game recaps. And we're doing that for every game. Feel free to email us at sunnyinphxpod@gmail.com if you want to give us thoughts, suggestions, questions. Maybe we'll answer some questions if we get some. We are on Twitter, and that is going to be Sunny in PHX Pod. That's the handle, and it'll be the Sunny in PHX Podcast. Twitter's super new. We'll be tweeting when we'll be releasing podcasts and articles. We'll release podcasts on the website too. And then on Facebook, we're going to be Phoenix Suns Multiple Sources. And that's a good way that we can interact with other people too. So, any final thoughts before we depart, guys?
Tell us that we don't suck. Or tell us that we do, I guess. At
Yes,
least you're reading
please.
or listening. So either one.
Yeah.
I'm holding off to make that judgment until after the trade deadline because something's got to give, something's going to happen, and then we'll know what we're in store for.
See, I wasn't even talking about that. I was
Okay.
just talking about us in general, not even the team. So
Oh,
Well, both.
both, I guess. Whatever.
well, we might suck.
We might suck.
I don't know. My last thought is I just want to thank the guys at Multiple Sources for helping us out. We all met through Reddit. I believe it was Dave who posted a thing in the NBA subreddit that we all found, and that's how we got together. And it's been a lot of fun doing the writing and starting with the podcasting. So thanks to all those guys for helping us and giving us a chance to, work with something that we love so much. So thank you, and make sure to check out all of the Multiple Sources podcasts. There's a whole network there, so head over to multiplesources.net and you can see all of the options over there too.
And tell them why we're
Okay,
better. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Okay, well, we will be back next week, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook for an announcement when that will be out. Okay? And that's it.